This
is the
conference will now be recorded.
continuation of case 25-04. Continue to do a site walk and then to the rest of the meeting today. I believe we were in the deliberation phase, if I remember correctly. We closed public comment and went to deliberation.
So. Yeah.
Also, just as a point of order, we have 3 alternates appointed for this meeting: Sandy Plessner, Doug Wade, and I apologize.
Yohei Segusa.
There, I thank you. So they're different members from the last meeting, but we got a full board. Any thoughts from the site walk? Just as a reminder, we're doing the 10-foot variance setback on 2 sides of a non-conforming lot on West Main Street.
I didn't have any real questions. It was pretty well laid out. I mean, there's wild growth on both sides. I guess, where the setbacks would be in that area. There was a house there, obviously, where it's nice and flat. That's where the house was raised. So, but I didn't have any questions. I mean, as far as looking at the site. So I was fine with that, what I saw.
Any other thoughts from the site walk?
I had no other questions here. It just was a good walkthrough, a little wet, but
It was a wet day for sure.
yeah, wet day.
Yeah, I think so the west side is obviously the problem area, where the covert is.
Yeah.
I think if there was to be a driveway on that left side, it would have to hug the eastern side of the west entrance. So my only concerns with that would be potential water runoff onto the property.
Because of the creek that's running through there.
No, so like if he was, let's say he was right up to the property line and there was water runoff from his building onto their driveway, would that cause a problem?
Oh, right. I understand what you're saying. Yep. Yeah, I guess, Pat, what would, in order for the accessing lot, because they don't have the correct road frontage they need. So in order for that lot to be usable, what would they need a variance from the road frontage?
Excuse me. My understanding, let me look at it.
The one
They have
side is
one-
correct, the other side is not.
Well, it counts.
Hold
Isn't
on a
it
minute.
200?
They have the 100-foot, they have a 100-foot frontage. It's the abutting lot that does not have the correct frontage.
That's, sorry, we're talking the back lot.
We're talking about.
Oh, the back lot has 75 feet on one side, and then they have, I believe it's 37 or something like that on the other side. I can get the exact dimensions if you need them.
I'm pretty sure it was 75 and 100.
Yeah, 75 and 100.
That lot would need a variance
Correct.
in order to be able to use.
That's absolutely right.
They wanted to utilize both sides. I mean, right now the backland
Without
lot is
sewer,
just one lot, right?
without sewer, they need 200 feet of frontage.
Yes.
With sewer, it's 100 foot of frontage, so that they would have to bring sewer down from just right after the high school down to that lot.
Yep.
Which would be a cost.
Or get a variance.
What's that?
Or get a variance.
Can they get relief from the 200 feet of road frontage?
It would be a 100-foot variance.
Well, 175, right?
N-
Is it combined?
No,
You have a lot in the
spot in the
middle. It's not combined. The 100-foot of frontage is, you have a lot in between 175 feet. It's not contiguous. Does it need to be contiguous?
I thought I did, yes.
Yeah,
Oh.
I believe it does.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 100-foot, double the size without sewer for frontage for the back lot.
Right.
Or get a, that's what you're looking at for a variance.
Mhm.
Pull this up here. Yeah, I mean, the site walk always helps because it is a tiny, the lot in the application is a tiny lot.
Yeah.
it's a little bit deceiving if you drive by, you know, and you think that the
Right,
full open field is the
right.
contents of the lot, and it's not. It's about half the size of that. Yeah.
Does it say
I'm
continue?
looking for,
I always assumed you could combine it.
look, you
Yeah, I
got a
didn't think
lot in between them.
Yeah.
You can't combine them with the lot in between. You're jumping over.
No, I mean, so there's the west entrance and an east entrance. I thought you could combine those two totals to make 175.
I don't believe so.
I don't think you can. I could be wrong.
You hate. It's 100 and then 70, just for clarification.
170.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just wait for the answer to that.
Yeah.
So-
I think so.
I'm still looking, but.
No, right. I'm not trying to rush you. I
Oh,
was
we
just
could-
making sure we weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, I haven't found anything that says it has to be contiguous, but, frontage.
I mean, just my initial thoughts as she's hunting for it. The lot is so small, you can barely put anything on it, meeting the absolute hard limits of the setbacks. I don't know. I like is my only concern personally is the encroachment on a lot that is already has limited access. They do have 100 feet on one side if it is contiguous that they need. So they have the minimum if sewer ever ends up down Route 3 the rest of the way. But it's the lot in question is a non-conforming lot. It wouldn't work to put the building in the middle of it, in my interpretation. I just would 5 feet of setback
Change it. Yeah.
be enough? Like is
So your main concern's the west side.
the west side? That's
Yeah.
I mean, there's enough distance on the back side of the lot.
Yeah.
Get this building off of Route 3, so that there's
Yeah.
enough space for a parking lot.
Right.
It's just that west side is my only concern. Is
The left side.
the west side of the lot.
Yeah, because if they ever had to use the western entrance to that back property, it would have to hug the eastern side of the west side entrance. Oh, because that,
outside of
I
some
mean-
major changes to maintain
right.
that creek, I don't know if that's outside of my
Yeah, but
knowledge base.
you're looking at access to the back lot, right?
Yeah.
So what if there's no access to the back lot? You have to have a back lot access to it?
Do,
You need an access to that back lot.
do I need an
No,
access?
does anybody need an access to that back lot?
I mean, in part of considering the justice to both the applicant and the public,
Right?
we have to take into consideration if we restricted the access to a lot that currently has road frontage.
Okay.
I just think it's a consideration that we have to look at.
Okay.
And
Well, because if
do
the
due diligence
building
on.
if the building was up to the property line, and then they had to do major construction to put a driveway in on that west side, like raise it or lower it or something, it could affect the foundation of this place.
Right.
Is Laconia Road the only access that lot has?
Yeah,
currently, right? It used to have something.
I mean, I just looking at tax maps. I don't know when they got sold, but there are two sizable chunks behind it. There's a
A 33 acre behind it.
18-acre chunk behind it, and
Yeah, it's not the one is.
another 8-acre chunk behind it.
I think.
So it doesn't have any other access. It's the only road frontage is Laconia
Yeah.
Road. Or not Laconia Road, West Main Street.
So the eastern entrance though to that back property is dry, other than that one culvert.
That takes the water underneath the lot in question.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the obvious entrance to this back lot.
The 100-foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if I were to look at it, the 70 feet, there's so much that would have to go on there, pipes and bridges and.
It seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, an awful lot.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say is I haven't found anything that says it has to be contiguous, but it does state in here that these are the minimum lot requirements as far as the frontage.
So just take a lot, all the road frontage, add it up.
No, I would say not, because you have a piece right in the middle that's breaking that up.
Oh, you interpret that the opposite way.
Yes, I'm just saying that the numbers that they're giving us in our zoning, those are the minimum frontages that you can have.
Right.
So obviously, when this was subdivided and made into lots, chances are the zoning was different at that time. So this would be considered, it would not meet today's standards.
Right.
That doesn't mean that it's still not a lot of record. And they can certainly, if they want to use both sides, now if they use the other side, the 100-foot side, that gives them access to the whole back lot. What they have planned for that piece, who knows? But the other thing is, like she was pointing out, today our standards are if there's no sewer there, then it's 200 foot. And they certainly don't meet that. So it's what they call a non-conforming lot.
Right.
But both lots are non-conforming on road frontage.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah. So the western entrance to the back lot, I feel, is somewhat inaccessible when you have the obvious answer of the 100 feet on the eastern side.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So if that were the case, I feel that setback doesn't encroach on anything.
Because it's not the usable road frontage. Is that
Right.
what you're saying?
Yeah. And given how small that lot is, you can see why he was like, oh, let's cram it in the back left corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. A question was also brought up that he can also take that building and move it to the east side. That was brought up last month also.
Flip it.
Flip it.
Yeah. But I think given how inaccessible the western side is, I don't think that would make sense.
Right.
And it's the non-conforming piece of the road frontage
If they
if
had,
sewer
right,
was down.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more thoughts?
No?
Not at this time.
Want to go through the 5?
Sure.
We ready for that? 5 criteria? Okay. I'm just making sure I'm not reading it wrong.
I don't have that.
Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest. Speak to it.
Yeah, I don't think it would be contrary to the public interest. I mean, they're both non-conforming lots. There's kind of, I don't see this affecting
No,
anybody. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
no.
You good with that, Sandy?
The only thing I was going to say is I would like to ask the applicant if he's looked at pushing the building to the other side of the lot, to where there would be less because there would be no culvert on that other side. That could either cause problems in the future to his property or to the property that he abuts. And there's more room on the other side. No, so instead of the west side, it would push it over to the east side. If he had considered that.
We have to reopen. We'd have to reopen public comment, and I guess if everybody wants to, I think that. Oh, good.
Yeah, there is a culvert over that right side. There's a culvert that goes along the front.
There's a
Yeah.
culvert on both.
And then there's also one on the east side that goes back.
Oh, there is.
There is a culvert that goes
Besides the
back.
one on the west side.
Yes, beside the one on the west side. Well, the one on the west side comes in, and then that one goes under the street and goes across the street.
Okay, I just didn't notice that. The growth was,
It's pretty.
I know,
Yeah.
we walked it tonight, and you could see it. There was a small little, whatever it was a culvert coming down into the culvert under the well, it was going parallel with the highway.
okay.
It was a culvert.
I also think that encroaching into the more conforming
Yeah.
half of it would be less good.
That's good.
Less good. If we had him encroach, if we allowed for a variance on the chunk of this back lot that is the conforming road frontage,
Right.
in theory, the more conforming road frontage
Closer to conforming.
Is the eastern side.
is the eastern
Yes.
side, and so encroaching into the less conforming road frontage would be better, and
Right.
how I would
Yes.
see that.
Agreed.
The less conforming.
So they've got a 70-foot chunk and a 100-foot chunk.
Yeah.
He's looking for 10 feet of setback on the side of the lot that has 70 feet of road
Right.
frontage. So the 100 foot of road frontage is the more usable piece.
Okay.
He
For the back
encroached
island lot.
for the back lot, and if we
Yeah.
allowed for a variance on that side, we would be allowing him to encroach more onto the more usable piece of road frontage. for
But
the
he's
back
still gonna
lot.
have 10 feet. If you moved it to the other side, he's still gonna have 10 feet to his property line. So at 10 feet, I mean, how's that going to encroach? On the
Paddington?
abutting property?
It would encroach 10 feet into the setbacks on that side.
Only in his setbacks, not hers.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, for either
So
side. The only thing I'm concerned about is on the western side, the one we're talking about. There's also quite a deep ditch over on that side.
there's a stream that runs through it. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a stream that runs through there. Now, I have a pond on my property, and I can tell you when we have lots of water, I don't just get a little stream of water that comes out of that. It'll go right over the top and over the road and everything else. So I think
Oh,
this is
It was
something.
pretty wet today. It
Well,
was.
it was wet.
Well,
running
the
too
rain
much.
we're having today, though, isn't the kind of rain that
Yeah, sure.
causes things to go over their banks.
Well,
All I'm saying is that if he puts it on that side, depending on how well that culvert works, if there is a culvert there, maybe it's just a river or a stream, there's going to be times when it could very well overflood, like last week when we had that 2.5 inches or whatever it was that fell. So, I mean, I think this has to be considered too. I guess I would like to know from him, is there a reason that he doesn't move if he moved it over a little bit to get out of his setbacks, then he wouldn't even need to be here.
Yes, he did discuss it at the last meeting that if he
some minutes.
falls into the full setback on the right side, he basically you can't get equipment in and make a turn because of how short the lot is.
If there's a trailer.
So if he was coming in with an equipment trailer, you couldn't make a loop if the building was sat right in the middle of it. If I recall from the discussion.
Also, another question I want to mention to your comment. When I looked at the culvert on the west side,
Yep,
coming down the main road,
right.
it was very deep and it was very clean. There wasn't residual. A couple of beer cans were there. And then as it went under the road, highway, very, very clean. There wasn't any type of soot or any type of green moss or anything there. So That's a 24-inch pipe, I believe.
Yeah, I know
So,
it was pretty big.
yeah, so I hear what you're saying, but I think with all this rain, we would have seen some type of a residual type of thing sitting at one of those intersections, and there wasn't. So that's what I was shocked at with all this rain that we had, that it wasn't. But that was a question that I wanted to bring that up to you.
Yeah, it was a big. There's a big box culvert
Yep.
at the end of it that went under Laconia Road also. That we, not Laconia Road, geez, West Main Street.
Yep. Okay.
Anything else? Did we?
No, not unless you're going to reopen the
I
public.
can if
No,
that's
no,
what the
I
board
mean, we
wants.
can continue going over all this and then after we're done, maybe we can open to the public. I have a couple questions, but I can wait.
I mean, probably should do it before we
Yeah.
continue going through the criteria. If you,
Oh, I just wondered, is Stephanie Winters here?
Mm-mm. No.
Oh, okay. Well then.
Yes, I am.
Sorry about that, Steph.
Oh,
That's okay.
sorry.
It just logs in as Kevin Hutchinson. I don't know why.
Oh, I just had a question. You stated at our last
Wait,
meeting that,
Point of order. You're going to open it to public
yeah,
comment
sorry,
if you
kind
do
of got
that.
away from you a little bit there. Everybody was on board. You all right with it?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll reopen public comment. Go ahead, Stephanie. Or sorry, you were asking a question. Go
I
ahead,
was
Sandy.
just going to say, you had made the statement when you were addressing the board last week in public comment that you felt that this would hinder access to your property if he got 10 feet into his setbacks on that side. Could you please explain what you meant by that?
Yeah, sure. So, obviously, you guys said it was a non-conforming lot. So both entrances are going to need, some work in order for me to be able to use that lot. So obviously, with a lot that size, having two entrances or two exits is going to be probably more beneficial than just having one. So we would rather have the opportunity to be able to have two entrances or two exits, however you want to say it, if given that opportunity. When we go and we actually have to have a building permit and really kind of get into the gist of how to make it, accessible for everybody. So encroaching on those limits, like you guys said, if you start to build over there and stuff starts to happen, you have the creek there, you have this, and that, it's going to affect his foundation. It's going to affect whatever, because now we're a road essentially, or even something to get in and out is going to have to take a lot of equipment in and out of there.
You're leaving the speaker.
What?
I can't hear you. Your speaker is low.
Oh, did you hear anything?
Yep.
Yes, now I can hear you again.
Oh, okay. So basically all I'm trying to say is essentially, if we're going to build a road or anything on that entrance and it's already non-conforming, it's going to take a lot of work to be able to do that. So it's going to encroach obviously on his 10 feet. I mean, 10 feet is not going to give a lot of room for equipment to kind of go through, and if ground is disturbed and whatnot, like you said, the foundation and whatnot can be disturbed as well. So,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Do you want to ask any other questions? Did you want to
I
ask
know
the applicant any?
that's enough. Thank you.
Okay.
It cleared up my questions.
Okay. Anyone else? Good.
Yeah,
All right.
back to
Mr.
deliberations.
Chairman, I don't quite understand what she was saying from my own personal notes. If you have 100 feet of frontage, how could 10 foot of frontage from somebody else affect that 100 feet of frontage going up in the access way?
I think what she was saying is on the 70-foot side, if they were to do an entrance there, it would require a lot of fill or something, and it could affect his foundation.
I believe that's what her statement was. So her concern was that if there was encroachment into the setbacks,
But it would have to be 30 feet at
But it would
least
be-
from there, right?
it would be a 30 feet total from the building, correct?
Unless she got
Unless
a
she
setback
needed
as well.
setbacks
Right.
as well, right? I think that's what she was trying to express. That helps at all.
My understanding, though, that that's all wetlands back there. On the 70-foot side is all wetlands. Am I not
Kind of.
understanding that correctly?
There is a creek in there. I do not know the extent with which it is delineated as wetlands in
Got
the
it.
entirety of the lot, but there is a creek in there that comes down it, yes.
There's actually a creek on both sides.
On the
No,
eastern
well,
side is
Both sides of that line is a creek.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I just didn't see it.
that's where the covert comes on the
Yeah.
eastern side.
Oh, that wasn't road drainage on that
Yeah,
culvert?
yeah, road drainage, yeah.
Comes from the
We're good to keep moving forward?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, 2, if the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed. I think the spirit of the ordinance would be observed in that these are non-conforming lots. And in order to allow the construction on it, that is a useful construction, a setback into it allows for the lot to be usable. It's a small lot that's almost usable without it.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, granting the variance to do substantial justice. Anyone want to speak to that one?
Yeah, I think this lot is fairly unusable without setbacks. It's so small, and the property behind it needs either a variance or the sewer to come down to be usable. So
And I agree with the discussion that justice has done, that if this was the only access to the lot, I think it would be a different question, but the better access to the lot is on the opposite. The better access to the back lot
Right.
is on the opposite side of the lot in question. Yeah. Anyone else have anything?
Not at this time, no. I mean, I don't think it's a reasonable use for the property as far as what he wants to do there. My only thing would be, it would seem like it would be even better if he would shrink the building down a little bit, because the lot was small when he bought it. So it's not like it was an afterthought.
I think so. That came up last meeting,
Yeah.
and he said having 2 bays makes it not worth it.
Yes, I know. I remember him
But-
saying that.
Yeah.
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 But he still bought an undersized lot for what he wants to do. And now he wants us to adjust the zoning so that he can do it.
I mean, one of the other things here is we don't have to grant all 10 feet of variance.
Right. I understand. Yeah. That was my only, I'm not saying I'm against it. These are just things that are going through my head.
I am on board. I agree with that. I had more to say, but I lost it.
That's all right. We all do that now and then.
Number 4, if the variance were granted, the values of the surrounding property would not be diminished. There's no demonstrable evidence in either direction that the property would be diminished or increased.
Correct. I agree with that.
Number 5, owing to a special condition of the property that distinguishes it from other properties in the area, denial of variance would result in an unnecessary hardship. No fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property. And the proposed use is a reasonable one. Any thoughts?
There's no hardship on this, is there? There's no.
That's
The hardship is it's a non-conforming lot that
Okay.
there's not much you could really do with it.
Okay.
I agree with what you're saying. It's a non-conforming lot. We've had a handful of these where people's hands are tied on what they can usefully do with it because of how small it is. I don't know that necessarily we should give quite as much of a setback into that west side, but that's just one person's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he could do what he's
How
trying
much-
to do with 5 feet.
How much did it
setback.
leave on the eastern side from the building to the property line?
Hold on, I think it's in the plan.
137.
Because there would have to be a 20-foot setback on the eastern side for the
37 for this
Driveways.
Building.
This is 10, right?
the driveways.
Maybe
Well,
47
yeah,
feet.
they're technically
47.
considered permanent
47.
structures, right?
47 feet.
If it's yeah,
So it's 100.
47.
It would be 47 because it's 10 feet setback plus the 80 feet current building length at 170 feet length of the lot, so 47
47, is that including the eastern setback as well?
to the border, to the lot line.
It's really only 20 feet. 27.
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
Which gets pretty tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the length of a F-150 with a regular, I don't know, 10-foot trailer? I have no idea. What's a truck? 20 feet? I don't even know.
Prox probably right.
Well,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah, it gets close.
27 feet.
Yeah, the tricky part is, I think there's the economic factor of like, there's only so many things that are viable.
Yeah.
2 bays is not worth it. 3 bays is worth it. But there's not enough space for 3 bays, really.
Tiny lot.
What were you thinking for a different setback?
He didn't make a case on why 10 feet is what he needed.
Mm.
I think if we gave him 5 feet of setback, then he's still moving over to where he needs. There's less encroachment onto another lot that has its own non-conforming needs.
Yeah, splits the difference too.
But I mean, to be perfectly honest, I don't have a
No good reason.
solid argument for that, so
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes me feel better
No
isn't a good
problem
argument.
doing it. I have no
Yeah.
problem.
Well, if you go by its numbers, I'm having a problem here because he's showing the building is 80 feet. And the frontage is 137 feet. So if you take the 80 and then add the 10 over here that he would have left, that's only going to leave him some 40-something feet over from
40
here.
47
Yeah.
47 feet.
7 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve ZB 25-4 to allow a 10-foot setback instead of the required 20-foot setback in a general commercial zone.
Motion's been made by Steve.
Can we consider less of a setback? I mean,
We have to
less that we would give
second
him?
this one.
Second, it
Oh.
or shoot it down.
All right, I'll second it for discussion.
Okay. Could we consider less of a setback on that side? Meaning, and I don't mean less, giving him less of a setback that he could encroach, say 5 feet instead of 10. That would leave him 15 feet on that side. That would allow cars to go back and forth if they needed to. Just so he wouldn't be so close to the line.
Right, without it making it more conforming.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Or less non-conforming if you want.
the only problem I see with it is, okay, so if you have 10 feet on one side, 80, what would it be? So if you had 15 feet setback and then an 80-foot building, you'd be left with 42 from the building to the eastern property line.
Yeah.
With the eastern setback, the driveway or parking area would only be 22, which is
What driveway for what? He's got the whole front of his open, so he can put the driveway anywhere he wants it, as far as getting on this lot.
Mm-mm.
I thought he
It's
wanted
where
to
the
get to
state
Taco
wants him to
Bell's.
put the driveway.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, he's got the whole frontage. We're not talking about doing anything in the frontage.
Well, I don't
So
think
wherever
that's,
the state would give him a curb cut.
well, what's the frontage from it's 20 foot off the road, right?
I think what she's saying is that even if he doesn't have the perfect amount of size that he wants on the side, you still have the front of the building
Yes.
that you can use.
And all
Right.
the bays that he's showing us in this picture, they're opening in the front.
Right. What I'm saying is how much room is in the front?
But
Is there
from
enough
here to
room?
here,
Is there enough room in the front to turn around where you wouldn't need the side?
There'd be 50 feet.
50 feet from the road to,
Yeah, no. No,
And you
it's
can
an-
pave
it's
right
an
up to the road,
80
right?
foot, 80 and that's 20 feet.
that's
20
up to the
feet, no.
state of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Where you can pave and can't pave.
This is 80
And they're
feet
gonna keep
long.
a certain amount
No,
along
she's
there
talking
that you
about this
can't do
distance.
anything with.
So he's got 100 foot. It's 100 feet.
Yeah, but what's
He's
the
got a
distance?
40-foot building with a
Okay.
10-foot setback from the property line.
Okay, yeah.
So we'd have 50 feet left
Okay,
over in the
yeah,
front of
okay.
the building.
and then it's up to the state how close to the road he could pave.
Yes, they're gonna dictate how close it can get.
50
And
is
if-
more than I was thinking, yeah.
Right, because he's taking a 10-foot setback into the
Right.
back of the,
Right.
the back
Right, so
lot.
that helps that, yeah.
Are you proposing an amendment or are you?
Yes, I'd like to amend it to give him, just 5 feet on that side instead of 10.
Sandy has proposed an amendment to Steve's motion. Is it to change it to a 5-foot setback as opposed to 10?
That's the west side.
That's the
On the
west side.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Doug. Any more discussion?
I think that's reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
I think given the constraints of the non-conforming lot behind it, it allows him relief to have the property be useful and takes into consideration any possible
Yeah.
thing the other owner needs. I think that's reasonable.
Good point, Sandy.
Are we ready to vote?
Yep.
Pat, would you roll call us? Oh.
If you want to entertain, I know a motion's
Um,
been made and seconded. It's not protocol, but
Can we reopen it?
we can.
Yeah, how does the board feel? You guys
Yep.
comfortable?
That's fine.
Yeah? Okay, we'll reopen public comment. You just have to get up and speak and say your name, where you're from, all that.
I'm Jesse Burke, owner of the property. Just out of curiosity, I don't know where the 5 feet or 10 foot really makes a difference on that side. We just walked the lot. There is the creek over there. So if that property around, which we discussed everything involved in that being possible to be used with road frontage and everything, I'm not sure how. I mean, the 5 feet I'm fine with, but at the same time, I just don't understand what the difference between the 5 and the 10 is, just because there is that creek over there. So I don't know where that really makes a difference. I don't think we walked through with her on that. So I'm
No,
not
I
really
walked through this morning. I had to
right.
go out of
So
town.
what we talked about, I don't really know where that becomes a benefit on the other side for the 5 or 10.
Sure. So part of it what has to do is we could grant this variance this evening.
Yep.
And you could walk out of here and be like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this project at all anymore and
Yep.
sell the lot.
Sure.
And the variance that gets given goes with the lot. It doesn't go with the project.
Yep.
So part of it is that we have to take into consideration all of the things that could happen. So
Yep.
allowing any construction up to it.
Yep.
We've given the property a setback, a
Okay.
variance for a setback up to there. And in part of the consideration on approving a variance is looking at all of the aspects of any given piece of property.
Okay.
And the same piece of property that you have or that you are in confliction with, I guess, for lack of a better word, is also non-conforming.
Sure.
So that piece of property, in order for them to do anything, is going to have come looking for variances. And I
Yep.
think that the board feels, and if I'm speaking out of turn, please cut me off, is we're
No,
trying
no.
to do our due diligence by taking care of all of the parties that are affected by it.
I do understand that, but I don't see how that that 70 feet is of any use. Like, I don't know how you'd be able to put a driveway access in over there or do any construction over there with that creek. That's my only hang up, really.
It's speculation on our part whether they could or couldn't. I
Sure.
mean, they could spend the money they need to send the water where it needs to go. I don't know the answer to that, and that's part of the guarding against. Is
Sure.
that they may have to come looking for encroachment into their setbacks, and so if you're 10 feet in and they're 10 feet in, now
Yeah,
we've
it's fine.
okay, moved a ways in.
Yeah, I just was curious as the thought behind it. All good.
And if I'm speaking out of turn, please, anybody
no,
cut me
no,
off.
right.
Yeah.
Was the fact that generally when we look at giving relief from the zoning, the least amount that we can do is better for what we've already got in place as far as the rules and regulations. So the least amount that we can do and make still allow you to do what you want to do
Mhm.
is bringing the lot a little bit more into compliance because you're not taking away so much on that side, only 5 feet instead of 10, which, this is really our aim, is to try and get it to as close to our own zoning as we can,
Sure.
but still allow you to do what you want to do.
Yeah, it's fine. Like I said, to me, I just felt that 5-foot buffer, and especially with that stream over there, just seemed.
Well, it does give you a little bit
little-
more room on that side if you need to move
Yeah.
stuff back and forth, things like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Close public comment.
Yeah. All right. We're good. We're in closed public comment again. Yep.
Yep.
Closing public comment, and we're ready for a vote. We just roll call it.
Doug,
I'm in favor.
Yohi,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Sandy.
Aye.
Okay. ZB case 25-04 passes as amended. And 25-05. Tilton Treats, Dairy Queen. All right. Evening.
Good evening. My name is John Hanson. My son Christopher Hanson. We reside on C Street in Tilton. We come before you to seek relief on the height of poles. We own Tilton Treats, which does business as Dairy Queen in town. Currently, we do not have any parking lot lights in there. The town has a restriction of 15 feet, and we are looking for relief to put a 18-foot poles in the parking lot. If Mr. Chairman doesn't mind, I'd like to add something that we didn't originally give to you.
Oh, yeah,
Packet.
please.
This will show the parking lot at night and how dark it is. So there's 4 separate pictures there of different angles.
Yeah.
I have a question. When was this picture taken? What time of the year?
That was just a week or two ago.
Usually they'll make their present their case and then ask questions. Whenever you're ready.
Sure. Do you want me to just read down through the numbers here?
Yeah.
sure.
However, you can do a synopsis of it if you want, or you can read
Yeah.
right through it.
If
whatever.
any of you have been visiting us at night, then you can see how dark it is. And we're concerned about the safety of our employees as well as our customers traveling in and out of that parking lot with it being so dark. So that's why we are looking to install just 3 light poles. It'd be 1 on each side of the building and 1 towards the back.
Is there a reason that you need them to be 18 feet as opposed to 15 feet?
That's the standard height that the electrician that is installing. And doing a survey around the town, I think that still is far below many of the light poles that are already in use in town. The 18 feet would also provide better downcast light without obscuring it to our neighbors as well.
Pat, do we need to have him read the whole thing into the record? No, that's okay. Okay, any questions for him?
Yeah, I have one. On each light post, you're going to have 1, 2, or 3 lights.
Sorry?
On each light post, will you have just one light?
One lamp downcast.
Yeah.
They'll have to go to planning for their, like, how many lumens they cast down.
Right,
and the
correct.
lights
I know
go
that,
over
but
and
I see 3 lights here, and I know what they were asking for.
So the person installing them does 18
Yes.
foot poles. Do they even offer 15 or is it just 18?
They typically do 20, but for the color that Dairy Queen requires, which is a silver instead of the black, the silver only came in 18.
So 20 is the standard. We actually asked them to go lower.
Sandy, do you know why 15 feet was the chosen height for the zoning?
No, I can't answer that question off
I
the
didn't
top of
either.
my head,
That's
other
fair.
than the fact that, I can say that, of course, we're a lot of years, this is about 20 years old, so we don't know what the standards were at that time as far as the heights of the light posts.
I guess that's where I was going was
Yeah.
the technology, because it was based on different lighting technology
Yes,
than what's
what's out today.
more common today.
Right.
Those lights are brighter now. Yeah.
Well, there's more control too over
Where they
spillage of the lumens.
Well, that was the main thing back then that I remember us talking about, was the fact that keeping as much of the lumens on the property, when not letting it fan out too far onto properties in surrounding area.
And that was the reason for the restriction.
Yeah,
Uh,
one of them.
Sandy, you're saying that the lights weren't put in because it wasn't active at the time of putting lights in, or is because of the
Well, no,
neighbors?
lights were going in, but I don't remember at this point in time what was available for sale, what they were using when they would bring lights in.
Okay,
And we were just strictly looking at it as the number of lumens and keeping
right,
all the light on the property
right,
as much as possible and off of neighboring properties.
These lights, it didn't say whether they can be on all night long.
They will not.
We have an
This
ordinance.
is the town ordinance.
We have a town ordinance to say that when they have to be off.
Okay, yeah, okay.
What I was asking Sandy about is if she remembered why they picked 15 feet, then that suspicious that it has to do with how much light spilled based on the height of the light.
Correct.
But it's, again, these are 20 years old and the technology is different. Any other questions for him? No. You guys good if we open up public comment?
Yeah.
Any public comment? Anyone online? Everybody good if we move to deliberating?
Did he go over all the?
He's not required to read them. They are submitted by way of the application. Usually there's a little bit more, but that's okay.
We can read it if you'd like.
That's all.
I can go through it if you'd like.
It's up to you.
It's up to you guys. It's your time.
Entered in the record. I don't have to sit here. Anybody want him to read it?
Yeah, I'd like to hear his comments about each one.
Okay.
Sure. All right, we'll start with number 1. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because if it enhances the public safety, reduces the light pollution, and improves the operational efficiency. Taller poles allow for more even and broad light distribution. With fewer fixtures, the overall glare and upward light spill are reduced. Number 2, if the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed because the purpose of the height restriction would still be maintained through the placement of lights and the modern lighting technology. Kind of answers your previous question. There will be minimal visual impact. Glare control fixtures increase pedestrian safety without disrupting to the neighbors. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because it balances the needs of the business with the intent of the zoning regulation. It's a practical solution benefiting both the owner and the public without causing harm to the surrounding properties. Substantial justice for all parties involved. Number 4, if the variance were granted, the values of the surrounding properties would not be diminished because the proposed 18-foot poles would be designed to minimize visual and environmental impact while improving overall site safety and functionality. The change supports functional and safety improvements without introducing elements that would detract from the appearance, usability, or desirability of surrounding properties. Number 5, unnecessary hardship. No fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance provisions and the specific application of that provision to property because this ordinance aims to control the scale and visual impact, but increasing the pole height from 15 feet to 18 feet on this particular property does not compromise those goals. The slight increase is necessary for effective use and safety without negatively affecting the surrounding properties or the character of the area. The proposed use is reasonable, one, because the additional height is necessary to ensure proper lighting coverage and safety for the intended use of the property. The 18-foot poles will improve visibility and function without creating any adverse impact on neighboring properties or the character of the area. The increase is minimal, proportionate to the property's needs, and consistent with the overall purpose of the zoning ordinance. Part B, we explain how if the criteria of subparagraph A are not established, an unnecessary hardship will be deemed to exist, and if only owing to special conditions of the property and distinguish it from other properties in the area, the property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance, and a variance is therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use of it. Strict adherence to the 15-foot pole height limit would result in inadequate lighting coverage for the property, which may compromise safety, security, or functionality. Due to the layout and scale of the property, slightly larger poles are necessary to provide effective and efficient lighting. Without the variance, the property cannot be used in a practical, functional way that meets modern light standards, making the variance essential to allow reasonable use.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you happen to know how many poles you would need to cover your lot if you were at the 15-foot mark?
More than 3.
Didn't happen. Fair enough.
How many did he say?
He does more than 3.
4 or 5.
Oh, 4.
4 or 5 would be needed.
Any more questions for him?
No.
Good to deliberate?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. We'll close public comment and begin deliberation. Any thoughts?
Well, I'm not against this project. First of all, I would like to commend them that they're going for just the minimum that they would need to give them what they're looking for, instead of, going way up. And so, and I can appreciate, I've been there before at night. It is pretty dark when you're trying to walk around. So I can appreciate, and the fact that they're using, they would have a minimum that just the 3 lights.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
Great. I think you summed it up very nicely.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys want to go through the 5? Are you ready? Are you ready for that?
Yep.
Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest. I agree with
I agree with that.
their application
Yeah.
statement that
Yeah.
increasing the safety of the lot
Right.
by lighting it, and less lights with newer technology, the best interest of everyone.
I agree.
If the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed. Thoughts?
I agree. I agree.
I would say yes, because they're going for the minimum amount needed.
Mhm.
And what they're asking for is only going to improve the safety of the people both passing by and trying to enjoy being there and using your services.
And the ordinance should probably be updated.
Yes, the
Yes.
one we bring up for review.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what Steve had to say.
Steve was saying that it's probably time that we look at that ordinance
Okay.
and update it on a bigger picture sense.
Right.
Granting the variance would do substantial justice. I agree. That gives us both justice for the applicant and the public.
Yes.
Safe use of the property.
For safety reasons. Yes.
Safety reasons.
Yep.
If the variance were granted, the values of the surrounding properties would not be diminished. There's no demonstrable evidence to
No,
either direction there.
I don't think so.
And unnecessary hardship owing to a special condition that distinguishes it from the others. I won't read the whole thing. Any thoughts on that?
I think there is a hardship with it, the way it is now, where they don't have the lights, and an 18-foot pole is only a little bit bigger than what zoning would allow. but it gives them less light poles and gives them the lighting that they can direct downward and keep the lumens still on the site.
Yeah. And I don't think they can get the 15-foot poles.
Right.
The zoning ordinance might be outdated.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Cool. Any motions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the application for the variance.
25-5.
I'll second that.
All right, motion's been made to approve 25-05 by Sandy and seconded by Doug. All those in favor, vote aye.
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 Opposed? Passes.
Okay. No roll call?
I thought, did we decide whether we had to stick to one or the other?
You did not.
We don't, okay.
But once you did one, you should continue.
Okay.
All right, well, let's do a roll call vote then.
No, that's fine.
Okay,
Just keep
we'll do it for
going.
that.
Next one.
25-05 passes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 25-06, 603 Laconia Road.
We're gonna see if we can get this to work.
Okay.
Do you want me to start while Aaron's trying to get the map up for you guys?
Yeah, yeah,
Or do you,
that's fine.
or do
Yeah,
you want to
sure.
wait for the map?
No, does anybody
Will I be
anybody
interrupted?
against her starting?
Yeah, I'm all game for it. Let's do it.
You put it through the one.
I put it in there.
Shared.
Do I have to open it though?
Yep.
That's the map. I'll get the same thing. Look.
Should pop up. Here, I think it says tell us to share. Okay. Okay, next one.
So you need to open it
Oh, I
up.
have tools. We have tools.
Which- Okay, which document? Here's your,
Come on, I can see them. Yeah. Let me squeeze out a third one.
okay, so we need to go back onto the other one. Oh, here.
I
There you
would
go.
start, but I think you need me to speak into the microphone.
We do. That's
Correct.
okay. No
There you
worries.
go. Nitroco. You can shrink it down a little bit. There you go.
Good job, Pat. Good job. Huh?
That's a first.
All right. Good evening. For the record, my name is Maria Dolder. I'm an attorney. I represent the applicants on this. This property is located at 603 Laconia Road. It's within your resort commercial zoning district, and currently it houses a single-family residence with related accessory structures. And as you can see, we put the map up here so that you get a pretty good overview of this property. Currently, this is a second home for the applicant. However, they do intend on making this their primary home once they're in retirement. The problem is that this existing residence is quite small, with all of their bedrooms currently located on the upstairs floor. So once you go into retirement, you look for a little bit more first floor living space, and that's what they're looking to do at this point in time. In order to accommodate their needs, they are proposing a 900 square foot addition to the existing residence. And in that addition, they want to put a bedroom, a bathroom, and a great room on the first floor. So like I said, to accommodate them during retirement, first floor living. And then they are proposing just a small deck that will connect to the existing deck. The proposed use is residential and it is permitted by right in the zoning district. One of the most unique characteristics about this particular lot is you'll see it's a rather large lot. So in this zoning district, you only require 1 acre for property. This is 2.6 acres. So it is much larger than normal lots in this particular zoning district. However, the buildable area on this particular lot is significantly impacted by the fact that it has wetlands on 3 sides of the property. So once you take into account those wetlands plus the town's 100-foot wetland buffer and all of your related building setbacks, it seriously limits the applicant's ability to build anything further on this particular property without variance relief. In fact, even though they still have over your acre of actual buildable area on this particular lot, once you put in your buffer, they are left with 4,833 square feet that they would be allowed to construct on this lot. And so if you look on that map, see that swath that is in purple?
Yeah.
That is technically the only area on this lot that your zoning ordinance would allow them to build at this point in time. Clearly, the buffers have changed over the years. I'm not sure when that happens because the existing house was constructed on this lot by building permit. It doesn't comply with your zoning ordinance at this point in time. So any addition to that particular structure needs variance relief. And that's why we're here tonight. Few things I do want to just note to the board that there were no unique habitats that were observed on the property, and the NHB screening did not produce any hits for threatened or endangered species. So the addition, and we also have to relocate a pump station to do this, the proposed stormwater infiltration bed, they are all being proposed within the existing lawn area. So the area that we're asking for the variance relief has already previously been disturbed. The only thing that we will need to move are just trees or shrubs, which are ornamental in nature. There will not have to be any type of tree removal. This is grass area. So it's already been disturbed in the applicant's use today. The proposed work will not redirect any water from one watershed to the other. It does not require any wetland impacts to the actual wetland. So it won't alter the wetlands of capacity to mitigate flooding. It won't remove or negatively impact your wetlands ability to grow wetland vegetation. And it will not negatively impact the supply or quality of your surface or groundwaters for this property. Now, a draft version of these plans were presented to the Conservation Commission. So we've gone to the Conservation Commission twice now. The first meeting, there were a few comments from the Concom. They basically asked for a couple changes to the plan. Those changes were made based on their comments. Aaron went to the board last night and presented those changes, and the Conservation Commission seemed to be happy with the revisions, and they did not express any concerns to this proposal. So we need 2 variances from your zoning ordinance. They are both for your 100-foot wetland buffer. The first is to allow the addition. It will maintain a buffer of 51.96 feet for the house and 46.62 for the deck, where 100 feet is required. And we also need to move the sewage pump station. That is already located in your wetland buffer because, as I said, I think that your wetland buffer must have increased over time. So it's currently in that 100-foot wetland buffer. So we just need to relocate that, and we will maintain a buffer of 40.05 feet in the new location. Do you have any initial questions before I go through each of the prongs? I know I share a lot.
Where is the pump house? Where is your pump house? Could you point to the pump house?
Yeah, do you,
Okay.
that's where it would be relocated to.
Oh, I see. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, so that one's existing.
Okay. Going up to there. I gotcha.
And that's. Sorry, he's,
Yeah, okay.
all right, and that's where it's proposed.
Okay. Yep.
What year was the house built?
14, I purchased it in 16.
14. Yeah.
What did he say?
It was built
14.
in 14.
Yeah. So in that point in time, I'm not sure, like I said, when your wetland buffer, we tried to look into when the wetland buffer may have changed, because clearly it could not have been 100 feet at the time, because I think you believed it was 20, right? Yeah.
20 feet.
We believe it used to be 20 feet. So everything on this property would have complied, and had that buffer not increased, clearly this addition would be allowed by right without any type of relief.
So can you point to where the wetlands are on this?
So it's that green line.
Oh, yeah.
That's all? Okay.
Those are all wetlands
Really?
on the other side. And so your buffer now comes off of that 100 feet. And then obviously we also have your building setbacks, which are those outer.
Is that shed still there? Little shed? Yeah, that's still there? It is.
So as I walk through the prongs, obviously, like I will repeat myself about, because a lot of these overlap, but one of the interesting things in your zoning ordinance, and I'll get into that as we go through, is under the terms of your zoning ordinances, accessory structures like garage, pool house, they're permitted to be constructed within your wetland buffer by CUP from the planning board. So they don't need a variance because they are permitted under certain circumstances. They basically say that if you can demonstrate that there's no other practical alternative on the property, you are allowed to build a pool house or, like I said, a garage within the wetland buffer. So our point is we don't see any difference between putting a garage or a pool house in this wetland buffer as opposed to a 900 square foot addition to the house in an area that's already cleared. So, I mean, that's going to be the basic and the theme behind this. So unfortunately, under the way your zoning ordinance, it only says that you can build accessory structures. It does not allow any other type of structure. The addition that we're looking to put on is a 900 square foot addition. So it's similar in size to what you would expect for like an ADU. It's not that large, but it will allow all first floor living for the applicant. One of the reasons why it's not an ADU is because we're not proposing another kitchen. And by definition, an ADU would have to have another kitchen in it. So this is purely just an addition to this property. And if you want, I can walk through all the prongs, but like I said, I'm happy to answer questions as we go.
I'm okay if you don't read through all 5, but if somebody, if you want her to go through,
Love to hear it.
we'll go through all 5.
Okay, so 1, granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest. As you know, in order to be contrary to the public interest, your variance has to unduly and in a marked degree conflict with the ordinance such that it violates your ordinance's basic zoning objectives. Now, to ascertain whether or not a variance would do that, you look at whether or not this would alter the essential characteristics of your neighborhood, or if it would threaten the public health, safety, or welfare of the public. Neither of these variances do that. The use of the property is permitted by right in the zoning ordinance. So this is something that falls into the essential characteristics of your neighborhood. And as I indicated, your zoning ordinance does allow accessory structures to be built in the same location. We could not have it attached, build it as a garage, and that would be permitted under your zoning ordinance by CUP. So clearly that's not so contrary to your zoning ordinance that we would consider this to alter the essential characteristics of the neighborhood or cause any type of public health, safety, or welfare. The problem with this particular property is, as you see, because you can only build in that purple area, there's just no other practical area on the lot to put an addition or to increase this. Everything else exists within this buffer. Like I said, because of whatever year it was that it went from 20 to 100, it significantly impacted this particular property. Same thing with the sewage pump. The sewage pump is already located within the wetland buffer. There have been no issues with that. The pump station is watertight and it will be underground. It will be over 40 feet from the wetland. So there are no concerns that moving at that slight distance will have any impact on the property or the area itself. In addition, we're not proposing, obviously, to impact the wetlands at all. All of the trees and the rest of the vegetation on this particular site that are in between the lawn area and the wetland will remain. So none of that is coming down. Like I said, everything will be done in the grassed area that's already been disturbed. So we don't have to worry about anything else like getting closer to the wetlands, so to speak, because we've already grassed it. It's already been disturbed.
Right.
In terms of the spirit of the ordinance, once again, your zoning ordinance permits this use by right, so clearly it complies with that. Even with the buffer encroachment, there is no impact to your wetland buffer. It's already been encroached in this area. Like I said, your existing tree line between your wetland and the residence will remain even with this addition. One of the additional expressed intents of your wetland conservation district is to encourage low-intensity uses that can be appropriately and safely located in and around your wetlands. We believe that residential fits this definition and complies with your zoning ordinance. And once again, since we are only building a 900 square foot addition and we're not going to have to clear any further to get closer to the wetlands, we do believe that this complies with your zoning ordinance. And that's just kind of coupled with the fact that your zoning ordinance does allow accessory structures to be in this particular place by CUP and not by variance. So we do believe that this complies with the spirit of your ordinance. In terms of substantial justice, so one of the rules that you look at when you look at substantial justice is that any loss to the individual that's not outweighed by a gain to the general public is considered an injustice. In this particular case, we don't see that there is any gain to the general public to prevent the applicant from building a 900 square foot addition to the existing residence so that they can live there in the future in their retirement. Since it's going to be attached to the existing residence, it's just going to give them a larger space, but you're not going to spread it out further on the lot. It's not like we're trying to come down further. It's going to be in the same vicinity of the existing house. Given that the majority of this property is made up of wetlands and the buildable area is so impacted by this, there's really no other place that we could put this addition in order to allow the applicant to utilize the property. We do believe that that is substantial justice because once again, we don't see any gain to the public in preventing this use. And the same can be said with obviously having to move the pump station. It literally just has to be moved a little bit further. It already exists within your wetland buffer and there's no issue with that. We do not believe that there will be any impact to the value of surrounding properties. This is already a residential property. It's going to be constructed onto the residence itself, so there's not going to really be any huge noticeable difference to the area. People won't really see any impact at all to the surrounding properties. In fact, it may raise the value of this particular property and therefore could obviously raise the area itself, but we don't see that it will diminish it whatsoever. In terms of unnecessary hardship, I think this particular property is extremely unique. As I've stated, this is one of those lots that you only require 1 acre in this zoning district. They have 2.6. So they have a very large lot, but with that said, they're more limited than your 1 acre lot because of the existing wetlands and this 100-foot buffer. They end up only having about 0.11 acres that they can build on legally without getting a variance from this. So we do believe that this is an extremely unique situation and a property that is burdened in a different way than other lots in the area. Once again, we do believe that it's important to remember that we will not be altering the essential characteristics of the neighborhood, because even with this requested relief, we are going to be consistent with the intent of the zoning ordinance and the intent of this neighborhood itself. And clearly, we do believe the proposed use is a reasonable one. If a party could put a pool house or a garage onto this lot in the buffer zone, we do not think it's unreasonable to ask that instead the applicant be allowed to put a 900 square foot addition so that they could live there full time. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I know I kind of talk fast. So.
That's okay. Any questions?
Good job.
And we do have pictures of the lot. If you do want to see them, Aaron can scroll through them for you if you want to see the actual layout of the property.
So just to clarify, it's 900 and not 1,000.
No, it's 900
Okay.
square feet.
The only reason I put 1,000 is because it's
The footprint?
The footprint of the structure is 1,000 if you take into account the roof overhang and everything, but the actual living space
it's
is
in the
900.
footprint if you include everything.
Walls and the roof overhang bring it to 1,000.
Does that make sense? Could you hear that?
Yeah,
I can say it through the mic. So what Aaron was saying is that it's 1,000. The footprint is 1,000 because you have to take the roof overhangs into
Right,
account.
okay.
The square footage of the living area, right, is 900.
Right.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Any other questions for him? Good if we open up public comment? Yep. Any public comment? Can't see if anyone's online. Give a second. I think they'll just speak if they need to, Pat.
They can
Yeah.
hear you. Right.
All right. Seeing no public comment, everybody good to deliberate? Cool. We'll close public comment and begin deliberation. Any initial thoughts?
Seems very reasonable.
Yeah, I'm a little bit speculating here. I think I remember some discussion about there being some different interpretation of where the wetlands started. And that might be why that just might be where the conflict came from. I think I remember some previous cases where for a while it was considered like open water, and then that may have expanded.
If it did expand.
Just where that conflict may have come from.
I've been thinking, I can't picture it actually being that wet there, because I know my property is not that far from there, and I know where all the water goes, and it doesn't go here.
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
thinking, like, it's definitely not that wet there. I mean, there's a lake that's
Why is the
very wet.
wetland
But
so big here? I was wondering why that was so big.
yeah, it doesn't.
But it's pretty wet over there. I mean, the senior center is
It
over
gets down
there.
into the flats.
And the
out
land
there.
all around there, there's quite a bit of water that runs through that property.
This is all a big hill, though, right?
Right.
No,
Well, the
right
senior center is just above it in grade.
Yep.
And it's very wet.
Yep.
They're just below the senior center in grade. So you can just imagine.
The senior center
Is above them
On the
in
other side of the
grade on the
chiropractor?
other side of Laconia Road. Correct.
Right.
is wet there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really? Huh.
There's a lot. It gets wet just down in here.
They had pictures of the
There's drainage that comes down between
They
it.
had pictures of
No,
the
it's
top.
pretty wet,
That comes
that
from my
whole
pond.
section over there.
Of course it is.
I think it could maybe.
There's water.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Going back to that overhead,
Right there, yeah.
You can tell by the trees that are growing that there's wetlands.
Yeah.
You can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The
there
types
is
of
right there.
trees, sure.
Right. That's it right there.
What do you mean?
They're coming in on here.
I think what happens is
They're
the
adding-
water runs
They're
into the
adding
lake
this
here.
one. I
Okay.
think
And
this
this
is what
right
they're
in all
adding.
in here is just low.
Oh, it's low.
It's just
Okay.
This
low.
one here. Okay, yeah.
Low
Okay.
between these two
Okay,
houses.
I see.
So like that's all.
Yeah. Okay. That. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really away from the wetlands.
Yeah. But the
If you'd like to open
house
it
and
back up
everything
to
is up
public
on
comment, they
the
can,
hill.
Aaron can answer more questions if you'd like.
Sure. You want some clarification? We'll reopen
Sure,
public
yeah.
comment.
My name is Aaron Wexler. I'm the wetland scientist for the project.
There you go.
I donated the wetlands. I also prepared the base plans and the shoreline application and other permitting we're doing. So there is, as Maria indicated, there's a fair amount of wetlands on this property. The area that's developed, that is grass and, outside the treed areas, very dry. I mean, there's no concerns about it, that area being wet at all. And as you get into the trees, you start to see a little bit of runoff that comes down. This is a culvert that comes under Laconia Road, and there's a substantial amount of water that comes down through there. And there's drainage that comes further down the hill on the other side that feeds into that. That runs through here, and this is just a lower area in general. So we're getting some runoff from the road here, in addition to the runoff from the other side here. This area is fairly wet as you get further in. There's a transition period through here, though, where it's just barely jurisdictional. You have somewhat poorly drained soils, very poorly drained soils. We have a very thin layer of somewhat poorly drained around the edge. We get into poorly drained, which is where we hit jurisdiction, and we don't really hit, your feet are wet wetland, until you get further into the area. We have additional drainage that comes down on this side here and feeds this area in here. And all of the wetland on this side is poorly drained, and there's no high value streams or anything that are going through this area. As Maria mentioned, we don't have any threatened or endangered species. Any other questions you have? I mean, I'm happy to go over any of it, but I just don't know how much detail you want.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll reclose public comment.
All right.
Any other thoughts? Want to go through the 5 criteria?
Sure.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Number 1, the variance, granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest.
Yeah, I don't think this affects the public at all, and I think it would help the applicant.
Yeah, I don't think it's contrary. They're already, what they're proposing to do basically is in the buffer area, not in the wetlands themselves necessarily. And also the fact that these have already been disturbed, so it's not like when they're finished, the finished product is not going to interfere with what is going on as far as the wetlands. It's a very conservative addition to the house. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I'd say that most impact you're going to have is digging. There's no problem digging that. You're way above where you really need to be
Right.
to bother the earth movement. That's what I look for, earth movement anywhere near wetlands. I can't see any relative movement whatsoever when they start putting that foundation in. I can't see it.
Ready for the second one? Yep. I just lost my. There we go. If the variance are granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed. I agree with that. They could build a 900 square foot garage and we wouldn't be sitting right here.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Certainly meeting the spirit of the ordinance.
no problem with that.
Yep.
Granting the variance to do substantial justice.
Well, they've used the drainage they have, and it seems to be working.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's not going to be any impact on
No.
the public for them to put a 900 square foot addition on. If the variance were granted, the values of the surrounding property would not be diminished. There's no demonstrable evidence one way or the other.
Right.
An unnecessary hardship owing to a special condition of the property.
No, I think because of the amount of wetlands, it is a hardship on them. They've got a lot of land, but they can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
they're
and literally enforcing it. They've already made change. Like it's already been developed. It's not like it's
Yes.
new development into the property. It's already altered land.
right.
Not changing the amount of surface area that's altered on the property.
It's an existing condition that they're just adding a little bit to.
The Conservation Commission doesn't seem to have an issue with it. At least they didn't flat out say that in any of this. So, knowing the Conservation Commission, if there was a problem, it would for sure.
It
would have come up.
All right. Any motions? Or any motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve ZB 25-06, proposing a 900 square foot addition to the existing residence.
Second.
Motion was made by Steve, seconded by Yogi. I'll learn it. I'm sorry. Any discussion?
Yo-hee.
Yes.
Yo-hee.
No discussion? Pat, and staying consistent, would you roll call vote?
Yeah. Doug?
All in favor, yay.
Yohi?
Aye.
Matt?
Yes.
Steve?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
And it passes. The ayes have it. ZB 25-06 passes. Thank you for coming in.
Good luck.
Okay, 25-07, 18 Andrews Road. Thank you for hanging out through all that.
Thank you for hanging out for all that. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta take them home and you gotta study these.
Put it in the back there. There. And that should come up there. Hopefully, USB.
What should take?
Okay.
Give me the pen.
All right.
I'll get down to some chickens.
Should I?
Yes.
Chickens.
Yeah.
Yes. So my name is Angelica Benoit. This is my husband, Forrest Benoit. We live at 18 Andrews Road, Tilton. So I am here filing a request for a special exception of land use in order to raise and keep chickens for pets, egg consumption, and pest control. So I do have some pictures here that I'd like to show you guys as to what it looks like. Hopefully, if I just open, but I may have to.
A minute, probably.
Yeah, it will. Oh, doing something already. Here. All right, so the coop that we chose is completely hand built. And it's raised off the ground, so there would be nothing living under it or able to really get into it other than from the door that is on the left side. That's the biggest door that we have that I would be cleaning it out from. And then the other side is just a tiny door that I'm gonna go into the run and open up each morning and evening to let the chickens out and in. I made sure that the surroundings of the run is going to be enclosed well enough so that way predators can't be digging underneath and getting anything. We also have a fenced in backyard. If you can see part of it right here, you'll be able to see better in the video that I took. That is it from my porch. So it is pretty far back. Our house is, I believe, 40 feet at least from the road anyways.
You have to talk into the mic, please.
Oh, I apologize. So our house is about 40 feet from the road anyways, and then our deck to the coop, probably about another 80 feet at least. So you're looking at over 100 feet away from the road. We do have neighbors on either side of us. Um, one of my neighbors already said that they called and said, it's no problem if you have the chickens, blah, blah, blah. If, you know, you need help, let me know. I'm like, that's fine, Cindy, but I appreciate that. This is the video that I took of the inside of the coop as well as the run. Hopefully it loads. It's going to be loud. That white stuff is animal safe lime to help prevent any mites or anything.
Shavings in here at first, so that's why there's just a small amount left in like the corners because I have to put the right stuff in. But it is completely cleaned out. There's ventilation up there. This is wire mesh, so that way nothing can get in when the windows are out during the summer. It is completely hand built, very well made. Back on. This is the run.
I also want to mention that you can see it's on legs, so this is 100% removable. If we were to ever sell our property, we could completely take this down and it would be like it was never there.
I'm going to be planting, I'm planting herbs and things to deter pests and whatnot. Inside there.
That's the other door that the chickens would come out of and go in. Essentially, it is like a big litter box, and I did it that way so that way it's easy to maintain. I plan on keeping it as clean as possible, as you can with chickens. So that way there won't be any, pests trying to get in there and live in there. I just want to make sure that it's as clean as possible.
Essentially a big litter box. There's a roosting thing right there. So it's going to be easy to maintain. And our whole backyard is fenced in. Door there. Our little fire pit. Door up in the front. Door on that side. Driveway side. So, garden.
Yep. So we do only plan on keeping hens. So, no roosters. There would be no noise complaints. I know roosters can be annoying. I just want hens. They can also be very mean, so I don't want that. I do have children. We have 2 5-year-olds, so this is going to be a great opportunity for them to learn about self-sustainability as well as putting in some good hard work. The coop does have the 3 nesting boxes inside, and I will not have any more than 8 chickens. That's more than enough to feed our family. And then I also plan on making it non-electric. So the reason being is because chickens are naturally able to adapt to cold weather. And if I have any sort of heat in there and we lose electricity, then my chickens will die. And I don't want that. I want them to be able to adapt naturally throughout the winter. And it prevents against any sort of fire hazards in case of light drops or anything like that. The only reason I have that red light is because when they're little, we just need that as a very small heat source just for the few weeks that they're going to be out there and they may not have enough feathers. But that would be the only reason why I have that light on. Other than that, though, I do plan on raising them inside, so I may not even need that thing. They're going to be basically in our basement in a horse trough, being raised inside in the beginning. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions for him?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
As long as you don't raise them in your bathroom. I happened to be working in a house this week and I went into their bathroom and they had little chickens all over. But anyway.
I may be a little crazy,
I know,
but I ain't that crazy.
underneath the coop, there was no space here, or is there a netting going down underneath to prevent any animals from going under your coop?
We don't have netting underneath. I did.
No, you don't need it. I'm just asking. I couldn't see it in the picture.
There's a netting in the run itself.
I saw that.
Yep.
Okay.
But not necessarily. Nope, not directly under the coop.
Okay. All right.
If we needed to, we could put one in.
No, I'm just thinking breeze underneath. A breeze comes up underneath that. You got a wood floor, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Ply with it.
Yeah.
It just-
Could definitely,
Yeah, there's a
because
br-
it's open and it has, you can see the beams, so we absolutely could
Yeah.
put plywood right underneath there.
It wouldn't hurt you to keep the animals a little warmer in the wintertime.
Yeah. And for the inside of the coop, I don't plan on doing the sand like I did for the run. And the inside, it is going to be shavings because
That's
that also helps keep it warmer than sand.
Oh, yeah.
Just as a point of clarification, this is nothing. It's not saying that I don't think you're going to run a tight chicken ship at all. It's just that when we grant this, if you sell your house tomorrow, someone else can have chickens. So I'm just asking this as a point of clarification. Pat, in her application, it says to see the narrative, and then in the narrative, she specifies that she won't have roosters. So is that part of the special? Does the narrative become part of the special exception approval? So if someone else bought the property and had chickens, they couldn't have roosters. Okay, thank you. That's all.
How big is your chicken run?
The run
square
is
footage.
10 foot by 10 foot. And the coop itself is 4 foot by 6, I believe.
Something around that,
Maybe
yeah.
slightly smaller.
Any more questions for her?
No.
Any public comment?
Have you decided on a breed yet?
I have, yes. I picked 3 different ones. Barred Rock, Americana, because they're very docile and good with children, as well as the Rhode Island Reds, because they're the best layers.
Okay, no public comment. We'll close public comment. Begin deliberating. Yep. So this isn't a typical variance; it's a special exception. So the criteria is a little not quite as strict. Basically, if their proposal meets these criteria, then it meets it. And that's that. So do you guys just good to just go through the criteria?
Sure.
Cool.
The specific site is an appropriate location for such use.
Yeah.
I say yes.
No factual evidence is found. The property values in the district will be reduced due to incompatible land use. There's no demonstrable evidence for that.
Nope.
There's no valid objection from the abutters based on demonstrable fact. There appears to be no objection whatsoever. Did I miss something?
Did you get the email that we put out there for you to read in the record?
Hold on one second.
I think, is it in the packet? Oh, sent it to his email.
Hold on. It would have come from Cindy.
Yes.
Um, 25-07. Please read the above email. Oh, sorry. Yep, I see it is down here. This was received on June 12th at 9:43. It says, "Good morning. I received a phone call at the end of the day yesterday from Cindy Cooper. Cindy and her husband Lon reside at 12 Andrews Road, lot R2217C0, and are in receipt of an abutter notice for the above case regarding chickens at the Benoit property. Cindy wanted to let the town know that she and her husband have no issues or concerns regarding zoning board case 25-07.
They're good
Thank you.
neighbors.
Thank you. So there's no valid objection from the abutters. No nuisance or hazard is involved. I think that her rooster qualification kind of eliminates any concern for any potential nuisance. Adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use.
Yep.
I think it is.
Pretty squared away operation proposed. Adequate area for safe and sanitary sewage disposal.
My garden.
There you go.
And then the rest of it is just formality stuff. Oh, sorry, there's a setback one. She's not encroaching on any setbacks. So they all need to be met. Any motions?
I'll make a motion, we approve the case, what case is it?
25-07.
2507.
25-07.
Motion's been made. Any seconds?
Second.
Motion's been made by Sandy and seconded by Doug.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
Is the language in their email limiting. So it says designed to fit 10 full-grown chickens, 6 by 4 feet with at least 3 nesting boxes. Is that self-limiting? Is that included in the application?
Yes,
It all
it
is.
is.
Okay.
Everything.
Yep.
Yes, it is. It is. That's, I guess, same question I had about the roosters. So this,
Yep.
It's all.
this,
Yeah. Oh, that whole thing is.
That's
okay.
by their choice, yeah.
yeah, is included in their application.
Okay. Cool. I'm good with it.
Okay. No, any other discussion? Pat, would you roll call vote us?
Doug,
I agree with it.
Yohi,
Aye.
Matt,
Yes.
Steve,
Aye.
Andy.
Aye.
Well, the ayes have it. ZB 25-07 passes.
Wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
coming
Thank you very much.
We want the first dozen chicken
luck.
eggs. Right?
I know, right? I'm like free eggs for life, right? Definitely free veggies for sure. I know, and then Cindy and
They're not free
Normal.
eggs when you start paying for the feed.
True.
it's very true.
I knew
Kids will
construction.
love
But
it,
this
though.
is another reason why I garden, because they're gonna get all my
Yeah, true.
scraps and
That's
all my. Yep. So
I do a lot of
see how we
construction. I got to tell you, there's more
Minutes.
chicken
I didn't
coops
do it.
going
Did
in
you?
today
Not yet. I know.
where I
Would you
work
wanna wait
than
on
I've ever seen
I'm
before.
sure. I don't know. Let's just rip through it.
Prices.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Yeah, the eggs are
I
up
read
there.
the first page.
Okay. That's good.
All right.
Thank you.
We have to vote on the minutes.
You'll get a letter.
You know,
Unless you guys are up for that.
This is what we do.
A minute.
The minutes from May 20th.
I don't know where they-
It's at the front.
I just looked for my name, and that's the only parts I remember. The rest of them, like, I'm not supposed to.
It is it, right?
The 19th. Oh, these are them.
We can put them off if you guys want. We don't have to vote on it tonight.
Yeah, we don't.
Oh, no, I don't.
You guys comfortable?
We
I'm
went, I looked at them.
Any motions?
Yeah, I'll make it.
Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, that's all right.
All right, I'll make a motion to push voting on the minutes back to the next meeting in
In
July,
July.
whatever that date is.
Okay. Motion been made to push the minutes
15th.
back to July 18th,
15th, I think.
15th. Let me get the date right so that I don't screw it up.
Yeah.
July 15th.
July 15th. There we go.
15th?
Any seconds?
Second.
All right. Motion's been made to table the minutes to July 15th. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We will table those minutes.
Perfect.
Any other business?
Just a reminder, you only have one meeting in, July,
One meeting in July?
right? So you have July, and then do you have, I don't think you have a meeting in August, do you?
December is the only month we don't have a meeting.
Oh, okay. Unlike,
I will not-
unlike planning.
I will not be here next month. I'll be in Montana.
Nice.
So that's just so you guys know.
15th, huh?
So
I mean, up there.
Sounds
somebody wants to
enjoyable.
be an alternate.
Steve, you're up,
I will
remember?
leave the chair.
Any motions to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion made and by Sandy, seconded by Steve Bunce. Any discussion? Those in favor? Vote
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned at 7:43.